Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I am Adriana, co-founder of Chapa2Beca, and on behalf of our team, we welcome you all to today's webinar. If you are thinking of pursuing an MBA or a master's degree in business, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to share with all of you valuable information that will help you make the decision to start this new adventure. But before starting, I want to briefly tell you why we are here. We are Chapa2Beca, a company that was founded with the purpose of supporting talented professionals like all of you to progress in your professional development, connecting your vocation with international study opportunities. And how we can help you achieve this? We offer an online course that gives you a roadmap to start your application process, from defining the best study program based on your professional goals to making a list of all the requirements to be prepared. Actually, we have a discount code for the online course, and you can find it by scanning the QR. And in addition, we provide one-on-one and group mentoring sessions focused on the development of a specific application requirements, such as a personal statement or a resume. And of course, if you can find more information, you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. So this is the first session of a webinar series that we have organized with the purpose of sharing with you information on how to apply to a master's program in the United States, specifically for master's degree in business and engineering. And this webinar series was organized by Chapa2Beca and the Forum on Education Abroad, and sponsored by the US Department of State, the Wildlife Scholarship, and IRES. So now I'm going to stop here for a moment to invite Melissa, CEO and President of the Forum on Education Abroad, to share some welcoming words with us.
Thank you, Adriana. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. I represent the Forum on Education Abroad, and we are a nonprofit membership association recognized by the U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. as the standards development organization for the field of education abroad. And that's kind of a fancy way to say that we have the responsibility for setting standards and developing guidelines for education abroad programs. And I'm very, very happy to be working with you to bring this workshop to Chapa2Beca's members and audience. We represent 800 institutions in the United States and beyond. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this event is because first, it features Amy Milton from Dartmouth College, who is a staff member at Dartmouth, one of our most active members. And also because the forum wants to build more relationships with colleges and universities in Latin America. And so we're excited to engage with you today. And thank you, Adriana and Ceci, for organizing this evening's program.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And it's a pleasure to have organized this webinar series with you and with the Forum on Education Abroad. Well, now I want to share a little bit more about our agenda. In today's webinar, we are going to talk about what is the ideal profile of an MBA or a business graduate candidate, some opportunities from taking an MBA or business graduate program. We are going to talk about the School of Business and some tips for a successful application. At the end of the meeting, we are going to have a question and answer session. So you can share your questions through the Zoom chat, and we will answer them at the end. And well, finally, we are going to take a picture of all of us today. So now we have a great guest from Tuck School of Business. This is Amy Mitson. Amy is the co-executive director of admissions and financial aid at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. She has been at Tuck since 2000, and as a leader of the admission office at Tuck, Amy serves on the admissions committee and leads recruitment and diversity-focused initiatives. Her combined student services and admissions experiences have helped her get acquainted with operations at Tuck, its history, and the vibrant alumni community. Amy's favorite aspect of Tuck is the people. Working with faculty, staff, and students is a consistent source of motivation and inspiration for her. So welcome, Amy. The audience is yours, and you can start your presentation.
Thank you so much to you, Adriana, Melissa, Cecilia. It's so nice to be here and have the opportunity to share a little bit about Tuck. So I'll start with some specifics about the MBA program that I know the best, but then also very happy to talk about things that I think are important when you're looking for an MBA program for graduate study in the US, some things about community, and then application-specific conversation around anything that will be helpful to all of you. And also, please feel welcome to interrupt me as we move forward here. I'm just going to get myself into presentation mode. There we go. So again, just starting with some of the Tuck specifics. This is just the picture of my front door here at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. We are located on the campus of Dartmouth College, which is an Ivy League school. We are in the northeast corner of the US in New Hampshire. We will talk a little bit about our mission, which you can see here at Tuck, is to develop wise, decisive leaders who better the world through business. The key components of the mission are wise, referring to the essential aptitude at the heart of business management and leadership. Decisive, thinking about as you go through the MBA program, you are really learning how to make great decisions, knowing when and how to take risks for the better, and understanding how to build great teams. You work consistently in teams during your MBA. And also leaders. Leaders have the ability to, in the words of our dean, see a tomorrow that is better than today, to articulate a vision for the future and accomplish that vision with and through other people. And how do we live out this mission? Well, at Tuck specifically, we do it through our core values of being personal, connected, and transformative. Personal refers to the way that we get to know you. Connected refers to the way you get to know one another in the MBA program, as well as how you connect from Tuck during your MBA experience to the outside world and to the centers of business, government, and society. And transformative refers to the impact that the MBA at Tuck will have on your career. About 50%, maybe more, of the applicants that are applying to the MBA program are thinking about switching careers. The distinct opportunity in the MBA and the MBA at Tuck will help you transform your career. Many people are switching careers, and the MBA definitely prepares them to do that. Just a little bit about how all of that happens for you in the MBA program. Tuck has made a very deliberate choice for the relevant coursework that it shares with you. We have a core curriculum at Tuck, so there are some very timeless foundational courses that you will take at Tuck through a required curriculum that, you know, we don't want anyone to leave Tuck without knowing economics and strategy and marketing and general management. And you have those core fundamental courses, so that is definitely the timeless and the very relevant piece of the curriculum. But then you also have very timely topics, working with faculty very directly on new research, on what's going on in the economy today, in the headlines right now, and faculty connecting with you, sharing their expertise so you can understand that. So there is definitely a relevance to the curriculum. and also the rigor. You will be challenged. The MBA experience is designed for many things, but two things definitely: to challenge your level of learning, your personal and professional development, but also to support you along the way. So you will encounter new subjects and new challenges, and you will have support. And it's not just support from your fellow classmates, but it's also from the faculty. Tuck is a small community where you get to know every single person here, but also every single faculty member, every dean. They are not hidden away from you or at a distance and you only see them in class. You can connect with them on a daily basis during your time at Tuck in the MBA, and also as an alum. So the faculty want to see you grow and learn and develop. They also will be willing to get coffee with you and participate in social events. And so the faculty have chosen to be at Tuck just as you would do the same to be in the community here. So the faculty are very, very engaged during your time. So I talk about a core curriculum, so required courses at Tuck that you have in your first year of a 2-year program. I'm going to just use 3 quick illustrations to talk about ways that you can customize your MBA experience. One is the first year project, which is a project that happens during your first year at Tuck. You choose the team and you choose the project. You can work with a local company, global company, international company, a nonprofit. You can do a consulting project or do something entrepreneurial. The first year project happens in the spring term of your first year. So you've already been through 2 terms of coursework. Then by the time you get around to the first year project, you're able to take all of the concepts that you have been exposed to during your earlier terms and apply that in a comprehensive first year kind of capstone project. Every first year student participates in this required course, but in this required course, there is incredible choice. That is a differentiator at Tuck. You choose the team that you want to work on and the project. We can help you with that, or you can present something to us. So lots of choices as you progress through the curriculum at Tuck. The first year project is something students might use as a resume builder, might use, I might choose to work with someone who is doing something entrepreneurial, even though that may not be my focus area for my career. I have the chance to learn right beside a classmate who is taking the lead on something very different than I have ever done before. So first year project integrates all the curriculum in the first year and allows you to connect with a company or write a business plan and pitch it to investors. So some great experience as you customize at the end of your first year. Other ways to customize your learning in the MBA are research centers at Tuck. So we have 6 research centers focused around very distinct learning opportunities, industries, and areas of focus. So one around technology and digital strategies, others around corporate social responsibility and nonprofit, energy, private equity, healthcare, and the list goes on. But the centers are areas of co-curricular learning that allow you to complement what you're learning in the classroom. It's also a great opportunity for leadership in your MBA. For example, in September, we had the technology conference at Tuck, and it was led by our Center for Digital Strategies. And we have student fellows in that center who moderated the speakers, who helped bring that conference together for the entire community. So the center's distinct opportunity to complement your academics and also help you when it comes to the job search. One other example of customizing your learning in the MBA are our Global Insight Expeditions, or the GIX. So these are 2-week immersive global learning opportunities. It's you and a faculty member and about 20 of your classmates, and you choose the geography that you want to visit, and you work with a faculty member who has a specific expertise in that country, and you have the opportunity to learn a little bit more than you would as a tourist. You have a deeper dive, you connect with companies, with alumni, and you spend 2 weeks, on the ground in a geography that you have never lived, worked, or studied in before. There are numerous global learning opportunities at Tuck. The program at Tuck is unique in that there is a global learning requirement. So before you graduate from Tuck, you will have had a learning opportunity in a country that you have never lived or studied in before. It is a very immersive environment at Tuck. This is our backyard right here at Tuck. We're in a small town, so the town of Hanover, where the college, Dartmouth College, and the graduate schools around it, Tuck being one of them, we're the center of the universe in a very small town, and it is immersive in that it's a small size class at Tuck. When you do a comparison between Tuck and peer MBA programs, we are the smallest, so a class size of 285. And so that is something to think about as you think about your next step in your education. What type of environment do you want to be in? Tuck is located outside of the city, but it doesn't prevent students from having incredible opportunities. Many alumni and some of our current students too would talk about how, they spent their time in a big city prior to the MBA, and they will go back to a big city for their job post MBA. But during their 2 years, they want to take that time away from the distractions of a big city and immerse themselves in this living and learning community in a really beautiful spot in the world. So just a view of the outdoors, and just a quote from one of our students here recently graduated, just talking about how, the full immersion, the unique environment gave them a great opportunity to grow and learn in this community. And again, they may all look like students, but there are also some faculty in that picture. In the MBA program, your faculty are part of the community with you and will engage with you during your time at Tuck. A little bit on careers. So as I said at the top of the conversation, many MBA students are looking to pivot. That's a big word these days, pivot, change their career. And Tuck is very well positioned to help you do that, with the general management curriculum, plus the opportunity to customize your study. You are ready for whatever is next. You can see some of the statistics here, and every year is a little bit different, but compensation continues to be among the best of our peer schools. And the statistics for job placement are published within 3 months of graduation. But we have 100% placement for all of our students in summer internships, as well as full-time offers. And we also have lifelong career services. So even if you graduate from Tuck, you're working for 2 or 3 years, you decide you want to change careers again, you can come back to Tuck, and the career services is always available to you even after you graduate. One example here of a recent graduate who started as an engineer at Chevron and changed his career to work in merchandising and sustainability at Nike. So definitely a big pivot for Kevin. He was incredibly involved as a fellow in our nonprofit center. He was an admissions interviewer, involved in many other things, but along the way, he also had the support he needed to change his career and find his top placement at Nike. Alumni. As you think about the next community that you will be a part of in the MBA, it really is a community. It's a strong network that you will graduate with, and the alumni are a big piece of that. As you go down this road of researching graduate schools and MBA programs, definitely connect with the alumni from those programs. It will tell you a lot about the school. Thinking about, the audience here may represent many different geographies, or maybe it just represents Peru. You can all tell me that later, but I was thinking about where our graduates are. We definitely have leaders of business, government, and society all over the world, but thinking specifically about Peru, I was looking into the archives of some past graduation speakers, and one of our graduates from the class of 1988, though he gave the graduation speech in 2015, was Carlos Rodriguez Pastor. And he had a long career, well, first on Wall Street, and then returning to his home country. He was at Intercorp in Peru, and then after that, started Innova Schools, and has Tuck alumni that work with him on providing educational opportunities to students in Peru. So happy to dig into any alumni stories that are of interest to you. But Tuck is known for having the most responsive alumni network amongst the top schools. And that will help you not only as you're selecting schools, but as you go through the job search and beyond. So thinking about your alumni community from your MBA is something that's a piece of the conversation. We'll take a departure from the beautiful slides, right, and just go to the nitty-gritty here, thinking about the application process. While much of this will be specific to Tuck, I'm happy to answer any general questions. And as we go through, Adriana, if you notice there are any questions, or if people want to jump in, please feel free to do that. So I'll overview and then we can go into specifics. But our application process, we have 3 rounds of admission. September, January, and April. For example, right now I'm evaluating round 1 applications. So everyone who applied in round 1 applied in September. We're evaluating applications for decision release on December 9th. So all the applications are due at once, all the decisions go out at once, and we have 1 cohort of our 285 students, and they all begin at the same time. So 1 start date for the class, which happens in August. With our application components, there are several essays, there is an interview. This year, all the interviews are being done virtually. In the past, candidates would come to campus, and that's something we hope we return to. But right now, not unlike many companies these days, interviewing is virtual, and that's become the norm in a lot of ways. Recommendations. We like to see 2 professional recommendations. So 2 people who have supervised your work professionally. Sometimes people will ask for recommenders from organizations that they've volunteered in, or other community organizations, which are okay as well, but we love to see a professional recommendation. And then tests. So Tuck accepts the GMAT or the GRE. And if you have not been in an English-speaking environment, or your undergraduate's primary language of instruction was not English, you may also be required to take a test like a TOEFL or IELTS, but there are certain waivers for the English language proficiency test. But right now, we accept the GMAT and the GRE. And then for decisions, so several here, so people can be admitted, waitlisted, or denied. And so admit, that's pretty self-explanatory. The wait list, that's another piece of the process where, sometimes there's more information that the committee needs. And on the day that decisions are released, you may see that you have a wait list decision. And with that, it's a conversation with the school from there. And we would advise you on what you might need to do to be stronger in order to get an offer in a subsequent round. And then there are, of course, some denied decisions. And if you are denied to the program, you can definitely reapply. Tuck works with reapplicants to help them strengthen their applications as well.
Okay, Amy, we have a question here. It's from Ariana. She says, how many years of professional experience do you think are required to be a qualified MBA student?
Good question. So one of the ways that you can see what the entering class looks like is in the Tuck class profile, just Googling Tuck class profile. And after the presentation, I can share all that with you as well. The average number of years work experience is 5, but there is a much bigger range. As I think about our round 1 applications, I'm preparing to admit candidates who have just about 3 years experience to some candidates who have 8 or 9 or 10 years experience. Everyone comes to the MBA at a different time. People are ready at different times. You definitely need to have some full-time work experience to be competitive for Tuck. It's something that our faculty expect. I also think that it makes for a stronger application when you've had some professional experience, because then you really know why you want the MBA. And so I love to see, there's no minimum, but I think you are at your most competitive with at least 2 to 3 years professional work experience. And the average student entering an MBA program, not just Tuck, is about 5 years. But again, that's different for everybody. If you're ready at 3, come in at 3. If it takes 7, come at 7. Depends on you.
Okay, and we have 2 more questions about the admission requirements. The first one is, what is the minimum TOEFL or IELTS score required? And what is the minimum GMAT or GRE score required?
Sure. So there's no minimums, but there are ranges. When you look at the class profile, you can see the range. And so with the TOEFL, I usually see the most competitive candidates with at least 110 on the TOEFL. But again, maybe your score is lower than that. Maybe it's much higher than that. I see a range, but the average is about 110. With the IELTS, it's about 7.5 is usually what I see. With the GMAT, there is a range. I think the published range for last year's class was about 580 to 780, with the average being about 720. So there is absolutely a range. And it is a holistic evaluation process. The slide right here talks about our criteria, looking at you on in a very holistic way. So it's not, somebody could have a 780 GMAT, but their work experience isn't competitive, or they may not have great recommendations, or maybe they're not practiced enough in their interview. So it is a very holistic process where we're looking at more than just the numbers. But go ahead. It sounds like there's another question.
Yes, we have one more question is, what is the age average among students who are taking the MBA?
The average age? The average,
yes.
Usually about 26 is the average. But again, connecting with the work experience, if you're ready sooner, if it takes longer, you can look at the class profile and see what some of the averages are. But also, knowing yourself is one of the most important pieces of this process. And, when you're ready for the MBA, you probably get a gut feeling that this is what you want to do next, right? And so then you start organizing your essays, your materials, starting to look at schools, and your profile may look a little bit different than the average, and that's okay. You should still pursue it. It's an incredible opportunity. And I see that Adriana is still on mute, so I'll just say briefly here, thinking about some of the resources, and again, I can follow up, Adriana, and share all this with you after, so nobody has to take notes. I mentioned the class profile. That is a great way to get a snapshot of any school's class. How many people, average age, average score, countries represented, women and men percentage, what industries are people coming from, where are they going? So the class profile can help you get a little bit of a feel for who you'd be in class with. We also have a published employment report that shares with you all of the places where students have gone on their internships and all the places where they've gone full-time. our Tuck 360 blog that shares insights all about what we hope to see in the essays. It will have stories from our student community, and you'll be able to get a feel for not only the admissions process, but also for Tuck. There is a how we evaluate page, so it talks about receiving the application, reading your application once and twice, and talking about it in committee, and finally getting to decision release, so you can understand how your profile is evaluated and what our process is like. Very, very straightforward, frequently asked questions on the website about the application process or test scores, timing, resources. Of course, the admissions team is easy to access, and I'm happy to be anyone's point of contact for future questions. But then another really fun thing to look at on the website are either our student ambassadors, so you can look for Tuck student ambassadors and connect with any student who's there. You can search by country, you can search by organizations or career or industry, that kind of thing. And you'll see student emails there, and you can email any of the Tuck student ambassadors. And then Tuck pathways. Those are stories that share what have students done before you, and where have students come from geographically, educationally, professionally, and then where did they go from Tuck? And it shares a little bit more of their stories. Also, other resources are to be in conversation with students. And so all through the month of December, we will have student coffee chats that will be on our website that anyone is welcome to join, whether you're applying this year, next year, in 5 years, whatever the case may be. If you have a remote interest, you can sit and listen and participate in a very casual conversation with our students. So this is another, just a view of campus for you. And then I can stop sharing my screen and open it up or turn it back over to Adriana for any questions or things you'd like me to talk a little bit more about, if anything.
We don't have more questions so far, so we can maybe continue, and I will ask you as long as we receive more questions.
So that's enough of the slides. You probably all have been seeing enough slides all day long. But I think it's wonderful that you're thinking about the MBA, and Adriana, I just support the work that you are doing to have me here. I just thank you so much. That the MBA is a significant opportunity for personal and professional growth. Like I said, many students are coming into the MBA to switch careers. But there's more than that, right? So many students that I talk to want to be more confident when they do presentations, want to be more confident when talking to other business leaders from different countries, from different industries. The MBA in general management gives you a well-rounded view of what other industries and businesses and what it's like doing businesses in other parts of the world. And you learn a lot of that from your classmates in a really, there's a lot of diverse representation in the MBA program at Tuck, and you get to know every single one of your fellow students. So that helps add to your perspective and adds as you go along the journey, for sure.
Okay, Amy, we have a very common question here I would like to ask you. It is possible to get a full financial aid from the university or any financial aid?
Thank you for whoever asked that question. Such a good question, and such a good question to ask early. So yes, so there are very generous scholarships. There is financial aid that is offered with scholarships. So very specifically, going back to the process. So you apply, you are admitted. On the day you are admitted, you will know if you received a scholarship. Scholarships range anywhere from $10,000 per year up to full tuition. And so those scholarships are renewed in your second year as long as you're in good academic standing. Thinking about preparing for the MBA, thinking about, considering your personal finances, what are the ways that you can limit some of your expenses before you make this investment? But it's very much an open conversation with the financial aid team, just as we scheduled a call here easily to come together. You can also talk with the financial aid team at Tuck now or anytime in the future. And it's very much an open door. We also have some additional information on the Tuck website that we're updating around scholarships and financial aid, but there are guaranteed loans for international students. Everyone who applies is automatically evaluated for scholarship. It is not a separate application. So as I'm, reading and reviewing applications for admission, I make that decision. And then everyone who's been given an admissions offer, we go into another committee discussion around scholarship. And so such a good question, and it's never too soon to start thinking about financing the MBA. Our students, the majority of students will take out some loans, right? That varies, but expect to, be as competitive as you can for scholarship, and expect that you will be considered for scholarship, but also expect that you will have some loans most likely. And so those loans, typically our students are paying their loans off within 5 years. So there definitely is a strong return on investment for the MBA.
Okay, thank you, Amy. I have another question, and it is, do we have the opportunity to work while studying the MBA?
Most people will not work during the MBA at Tuck because it is full-time, and because you want to immerse yourself in the community, in the classes, and also invest the time that you need in the job search for whatever your summer internship is going to be. So there are definitely students who will take on small consulting projects, or who, I recommend against it, but then, they say, oh, well, I was still working because I needed to do this or that, or, and so there are definitely some students who will continue. Maybe they're finishing up a final project for their employer, and so they're trying to balance class and that, but that is a big trade-off, right? So you'll be kind of half in the work, half in the MBA. And so this experience is designed to be immersive. And so you're making a huge investment. And so I would say you kind of owe it to yourself to be all in if you can. But some students will definitely, I know that some students do a little bit of work. The other interesting thing is, okay, so it's a 2-year full-time program, right? In the first year, it's probably very difficult to work because everything is new. You have just a lot of demands, and then there's a lot you want to do and learn, right? So you need time to do that. In your second year, the calendar is very different. So right now, our first year students are working their way through fall term, and their fall term ends right before the Christmas holidays. As a second year student, you are finishing your fall term right now. So right now, our second year students are finishing classes and getting ready for about a 7-week break. So they have a break between, tomorrow, as soon as they turn in their last final exam, tomorrow, and then they don't come back until January 3rd. So if you think into the future, kind of in that second year, you might have time to take on something there because you have no academic requirements. You do not have to be on campus. You can do something else. Some people go on vacation. Some people might do internships. It depends on what you want to do with your time, but your first year calendar and your second year calendar are very different.
Okay, thank you. there is a common question. After making the decision to start an MBA, to take an MBA, you should choose in which business school you are going to apply. This is an expensive process, like applying to any university. And in your opinion, what criteria the students should use to choose the right business school to apply for?
So I will say that all of the top schools are going to offer you the absolute best of every opportunity. They're great classes, wonderful faculty, incredible opportunities for internships. This is what we do. We want to offer you the best of everything. But what is going to be the best delivery of all those options for you? Do you want a small community? Do you want a big school? Do you want to be in the city, outside of the city? So you have to think about what environment where will you thrive? Where will you feel at home? Where will you find your people, right? So sometimes MBAs will talk about that, like I found my people. Earlier, I mentioned connecting with students, connecting with Tuck ambassadors, connecting with alumni. Any school that you have been admitted to or that you're thinking about, talk to the people at that school who have done the thing that you want to do. That's how you're going to get that feeling. Because if there was a package on a shelf and they all look the same, you'd have to open it up to see if it really was for you, right? So with this search, you take a look and you see who is in your, like, who is in your consideration set, right? People are applying to 3 or 4, sometimes 5 schools. So you go through that process, you do your research, and then as you get closer or when you get your admissions offers, like all along the way, you have to be taking a close look. Talk to the people. There's no substitute for that. Some of our campuses have been closed because of the pandemic. Many of us have been restricted from traveling. People have still been able to get to know Tuck in the last 2 years because of talking to our alumni. Maybe you have an alum or a current student who went to your same undergrad or who works at your company or who's just from where you're from. Find those points of connection and talk to those people. It's really going to help you differentiate between the programs. So talking to the people is my best advice for how to differentiate between the different because the opportunities at so many schools are just endless, right? But thinking about who are the people that you'll be in class with? Why do people like their school? So those are some of the things. Talking to the people will help.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Alejandra says, does the MBA have majors?
So ours does not. So Tuck is an MBA in general management. And so you have a core required curriculum in part of your first year, and then it opens up to all electives. And then you can customize through projects, through working with centers, through focusing the courses and the electives you want to take to kind of specialize a little bit. There are some programs that offer that specialization, and that's another path to go down and research to do. And so that's, thinking about that with Tuck's specific offering of an MBA in general management, it provides you with not only specific courses, but the business fundamental courses that prepare you to do almost anything when you leave the MBA. You are ready to lead a team, be a manager, lead a business unit or an organization. And the MBA from Tuck not only prepares you for your first job after graduation, but your job 5 years out and 10 years out. Whereas specialized degrees are wonderful, but whatever degree you're looking at, is it preparing you for not only the first step, but the several steps after? Because as you talk to MBAs, they, students who graduated 5 years ago have probably had 2 different jobs already, just because one opportunity leads to the next. So we don't offer that. We offer ways to customize through projects and electives, but there are definitely MBA programs that offer specific tracks.
Amy, I would like to talk a little more about the holistic student's profile. Grades are very important, but the student profile beyond the numbers is also important. So if I don't have the best grades, what should I focus on working right now if I want to be or to become a competitive candidate?
So thinking about what makes a candidate competitive is definitely, it's always more than one thing. Adriana used the word holistic. It is definitely a comprehensive look at who you are, not just the skill set that you're bringing, but actually, who are you? Our second essay question asks, tell me who you are. I'm interested in you as a person and as a professional, because it will be your entire self who's in this community with us and with fellow students. Thinking about building your career. So professional experience. So making the most out of, what is that, the career that you're in right now, and how can you make the most of that experience as you're building it prior to the MBA? So that is evaluated under our criteria, which we call accomplishment. So what have your accomplishments been? And, it doesn't matter if you work for a big name company, a small company, a nonprofit, a for-profit, doesn't matter what industry, but just thinking about how can you gain the best experience for wherever it is that you are working right now. And that accomplishment can say a lot, because building up your career a little bit can also bring really good recommendations, can bring great experience that you can then talk about with your MBA classmates and your faculty, can also bring good presentation skills, good communication. All of those things are important. So, maybe you have a great test score, that's great. But if you don't, one, think about, do you need to take the test again? Because the test score is something that we're factoring into the evaluation process. And so you want to show that you have tried, you have prepared for the test, and you have tried to do your best. Candidates often take it twice, sometimes 3 times. But maybe you can do practice tests or prep course before you take the test. And then that could help take the nervousness out of, you put so much pressure on yourself. So practicing for the test or scheduling to take it twice. I know that sounds terribly painful, but sometimes candidates do that, and that's helpful to them. If you take the test and you get a certain score and that's that, you can't get any higher, okay. But think about this. What are you going to point the committee to? If you don't want me to look too closely at the test score, what do you want me to look closely at? Is it the accomplishment, right? You're going to get great recommendations. Is it your essays? You know how to write great essays. Is it a very strong personal kind of communication skills and presence in the interview? That also counts. So I would say it's very holistic, but you want to show your awareness in that I'm looking at that GMAT or that GRE because I want to understand if quantitatively you have some foundation for the curriculum at Tuck, because the curriculum has some quantitative challenges for people. So that's why we look at the test.
Okay, Amy, and finally, I think it's Veronica is asking, when will be the coffee session that you have talked about?
Sure. And I can quickly grab a link and put it in the chat, but the coffee chats are happening all through the month of December. They'll start on December 1st. So we should have them posted on our event calendar, probably in the next week or two. The coffee chats are very informal. So it would just be usually two students will host, and we probably have a maximum of about 15 or 20 participants, and it's just a conversation with students. So it's going to be all through the month of December at all different times. And I'll quickly get the link and put it in the chat for you right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy. You have provided a lot of valuable information for us. Thank you very much. I just want to share some quick summary of this meeting. First of all, it's very important that you choose when choosing your business school. It's very important to take into consideration not only the name of the university itself, but also the environment, as you mentioned, and it considers the class size, the place where you are going to study for the following 2 years, the curriculum, the culture of the students, and another criteria that could be important for you. So it's not only the name of the university, but all the environment, which is very, very important. You can, the MBAs are full-time master's degree, so you have to make this decision considering all the expenses that you are going to invest on your education, but also that you are going to stop working to studying this MBA. And the final one is that numbers or grades are important, but you have to also work on your profile, your work experience, and projects that really leverage your profile. So thank you very much, Amy. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you all of you that have joined us this night. I don't know if you want to say something, Amy, before.
I just encourage you all, Adriana, again, you said it very well. So you will be a continued great resource for anyone who's thinking about the MBA, but don't hesitate, anyone, to connect. It's easy to ask a question, ask all of your questions before you apply. We are here to help you recognize the opportunity and see if it is the right next step for you. So I've found not only my team, but teams across MBA programs are very generous and want to share the opportunity with you and support you and answer your questions. So don't ever hesitate to reach out. So thank you again for this opportunity. So nice to have a chance to chat with you all.
Thank you. And well, let's turn on the camera so we can take a picture of all of us. I'm going to stop the recording right now.